I had a wealth to say about Final Fantasy, mostly because it was one of the great last-ditch success stories in the early days of gaming. But you can't really get into such floral verbiage about Final Fantasy II. And just so that we're on the same page, I'm talking about the real 2. Not the 2 you might know on the SNES, which was actually 4. We gave up that pretense back in '97. Get with the times, folks. This is Final Fantasy II, released just 365 days after the original Final Fantasy, and initializing the complaints of, if it's final, why are there 2 of them? Did you honestly think Square was going to let this now very recognizable name go to waste? Of course not. 2 represents the series' movement from a D&D style party, where you begin the game by tailoring the classes of your team, to a new strange classless system where proficiency is determined by repetition. Use an axe and you'll improve your axe attacks. Take damage and you'll get more HP. Cast magic and the magic and your MP will improve. On the one hand, it's a clever system and allows for the most fluid character development this side of Final Fantasy XI. On the other hand, like 11, it often demands grinding and grinding and grinding, and woe betide ye if you want to switch weapon focus halfway through the game. The plot concerns a rebel faction fighting off the incursions of an evil empire, and if that sounds a whole lot like Star Wars, well, it kind of is. Perhaps this very parallel is what led Enix's Star Ocean franchise, taking its inspiration from Star Trek, thus creating an apt rivalry, only to be quelled by the merger of the 2 companies. And a unique innovation for the series, and one that I believe should have been carried into further installments, some keywords in your conversations with NPCs will be highlighted. These terms can be learned and then suggested to other NPCs elsewhere in the game to change dialogue paths, utter passwords, or ask for additional information relevant to a particular subject. It's a slick system. Shame we haven't seen it again. Much like its predecessor and companion in this Final Fantasy Origins version, 2 comes equipped with a dynamically updating Bestiary, a spiffy new CGI intro trailer, and a bevy of Yoshitaka Amano concept art. This augments redesigned sprites and artwork, richer backgrounds, and a remastered soundtrack that's par for the course in the FFO package. At the time of its PS1 release, this was the only way to get your hands on Final Fantasy II in English. Granted, since that time, we've seen remakes on the GBA, PSP, and iOS devices, making it no longer the rarity it once was. But let's not look past 2's most significant contributions to the series, Chocobos and Sid. Yes, those big, hulking, often flightless, overgrown canaries got their start right here, though their role in the game is primarily as a convenient means of escape. Sid, on the other hand, is exactly the airship meister you'd expect him to be, bouncing your protagonists all over the world, for a fee of course. I mentioned recently that no one ever really references Final Fantasy II, and while that's most often the case, except for outliers like 9 and 13-2, perhaps the reason is because these classic Final Fantasy elements, by nature of their very existence, are permanent callbacks to one of those games that just kind of fell by the wayside.